Alrighty, we're going to make a good quality heavy duty extension cord for a band to plug into, and we have our box, 2 outlets, a double outlet cover, good heavy duty plug, and we have some very good quality heavy duty cord. So we're going to start getting this ready to go here. We're going to take our tape off of this here. Okay, so we're going to strip this end here to hook onto our plug. So we'll take our wire strippers here. We'll just take the outer jacket. So we'll just cut very carefully here and just score the outer jacket. We'll bend it back like this until we see the conductors pop out. We'll cut our debris off here. So here in the country I was born in, on your 120 volt power cords, your white is neutral, your green is the ground, and your black is the live wire. So we'll take, here's our soldering wire. It's nice to forget your solder when you're going to do some soldering. So, okay, we'll strip our wires here. With our 14 gauge hole, we'll get them all stripped to the same length here. We'll twist our strands together and know what to go hunt for our soldering wire. I love to hunt for stuff that I can't find. Instead of getting frustrated, you just enjoy it, that's all. Okay, I found it. And what we're going to use is 4060 solder. And we're going to use some flux that's approved for electrical. You don't use plumbing flux on your electrical stuff because it has acid in it. So we have our, we'll start tinning our wires. We have them twisted together here. We'll dip it into our flux. We'll use our soldering iron here. There we go. We'll tin our iron with solder, and we'll put it onto our wire here. See how I get a nice flow through all the way through? Now I'll bring the camera down close so you can see up close how I do it. Okay, so we'll twist our white wires together here, our strands. We'll dip it into our flux, get it all in the flux. Clean our tip, get some solder on our wire. Get it onto our white wire here. See how the solder just flows nicely? I'll maybe go right across the bottom. And now I'll do our black wire. I will just get it into our flux like that. Clean our tip, tin our iron, And we'll see how it flows nicely through all the strands there. So that will keep all our strands together and from fraying out inside of our plug. I'll just hit this top a little bit more. I'll dip it in some more flux here so it flows better. See how the flux makes it flow very nicely here? That's just some burnt flux there, the black that you see. So now we are done with our iron. We'll tin it, put it back in here, and we'll turn it off and let it cool. And we'll close our lid. Okay, so now we can take our plug apart here. Open it up. And we'll push our wires up through the opening here on the back. Okay, I'll have to bring this open a little bit more here. Okay, I'll use something good big. There, that opened it up. I'll push that in there. There we go. Now when I pull it back, we'll go back into place. So here in the country I was born in, our plugs and our outlets are polarized. Your black wire goes on the brass screw, your white goes on the silver screw, and your ground wire goes on the screen screw. And if you look at your outlets, your white wire goes on the silver screw, which is the wide slot, or it's a T slot if it's a 20 amp. Your black wire goes on the brass screw, or it could be red or blue. It'll be the narrow slot, which is live, and of course your green wire or ground wire goes on the screen screw, and that's the U-shaped hole. So we'll hook these wires onto our plug here. I'll just wipe that black off there. We'll get our green in on our ground terminal here. Make sure we don't get the insulation caught under the green screw. Make sure it's tight. We'll come up here. We'll get our white under our silver colored screw here. Yeah, I can take a little off of that. Not a lot. There we go. We just want our insulation to come up to the bottom of the connection there, but not under the pressure plate. Like that. And now we'll put our black under our brass terminal here. Okay, we can take just a smidgen off our black wire here. Okay, make sure insulation just comes up to the bottom of our pressure plate here. Now I'll just go over it with my flathead screwdriver and make sure everything is tight. 1, 2, 3. So we have all our wires together. We have no strands or frayed ends here, and I like that. That's how I want it. Now we'll slide our plug back into our case here. There's the little notch up here, and here's our little notch here, so we'll just pull it back. Oh, nicely right back in where we want it. That wasn't the right slot. Is it this one? There, I think that's it right there. Yes, that is it right there. No. It can be tricky to find the hole that you got to get into. It looks like it should be right here. That might be it right there. Yes, that is it right there. So we'll just tighten our screws up. Make sure they're nice and tight here. Our Phillips will just hop like a bunny, so we'll have to use our flathead. We'll just tighten them up, make sure they're in all the way. Okay, now we'll come down here, we'll get our screws tightened that hold our cable into the plug. I'll pull this metal thing back here. You want even pressure on each side so it comes out nice. Now look, make sure we have about even pressure on both sides there. So we got this end done. Okay, now we'll do this end. Alright, so we'll strip a little more off of this end because it's going to be inside this box. You just score through the black. You don't want to cut into your conductors here. You just pull it off like this. And we'll get our debris out. Open up a knockout for our Romex connector. Make sure we get our connector on here nice and tight. And we'll put our green screw in here to bond our ground wire to the box. So we're going to use some wire nuts here. Now we're going to use some electrical tape where we're going to put our Romex connector because it's flexible and it's going to be moving around a lot, and I don't want to puncture the wires underneath here. So I'll put it right in here. So I'll just go around here a few times because I'm going to tighten it pretty tight. So I want to make sure our wires are very well protected. See how nice and thick I built that up in here? Get down in here like that, so our wires are, I want to stay centered in here, so now I'll tighten this connector up. You get nice even pressure on both sides here. There we go, we've got nice even pressure here and our cable's going in there centered. So now we'll strip our wires, go into our wire nuts. Like this. So we'll get a ground wire out of here to go to our box. You always loop it the direction your screw turns. Close your loop the direction your screw turns. Like that. Make sure it's good and tight, like this here. So this will be our tail to go to both outlets. So we'll put this right about the middle here. Okay, so we'll take our ground tails here twisted together here. Get them nice and even, like that there. Now we'll cut them so they're even on the end here. Okay, and this is our ground wire here. So we'll get all our wires into our crimp. We'll put them into our crimper like this. Would be like that there. And if you want to go up higher and get another one up here in the top, like that. And there's the crimp that you want to have on the back side there. So now we can put this down into our box. This is our ground wires. We'll get them down out of our way of everything. Now we'll get our whites and blacks together here. We'll start with our black wires. You get them everything all the same length here like this. And we'll get our black wire up here. See, we get all our insulation even at the bottom and our copper even at the end. We'll get our strands together here. So we have all our copper even at the end, and our insulation is even at the bottom here. We'll take our wire nut, we'll make sure all our insulation is going into the bottom of that wire nut. And just twist it on here nice and tight. So now we have two black wires, two ground wires. Now we'll get our white wires together here. You always strip with the hole that matches the wire size, because if you strip it with the wrong one, you can nick your wires and you'll have a weak spot. So we get them even. We'll get our strands together here. Get all our copper even at the top and our insulation even at the bottom like this. We'll take our wire nut, we'll just start turning it. Now you want to make sure you get your insulation going up into the bottom of the wire nut there. Make sure it's nice and tight, like that. Now we'll close the screws we are not going to be using on our outlets. And we'll take these screws out. We'll save these screws because we do always need them. Because sometimes I have to pull a screw out of an outlet for something else, like a lost cover screw, and cut it back some. Now we got to break these plaster ears off. And I use them for washers and spacing out an outlet that's too far back into the wall, so they come in handy, so don't throw them away. So now we'll hook our wires up to our outlets. We'll strip about an inch off of each one here. Okay, so now we can hook our outlets up. So we'll start with our ground wire here. Now go around our green screw. You always put your wire around the screw, the direction your screw turns. Make sure it's tight. Because if you put it around the screw the opposite direction, it will open the loop when you tighten it. So. And you want to make sure you don't get your insulation caught under your screw head. Make sure it's tight like that. And we'll come over here and we'll get our black wire over here on our brass colored screw. There we go. We don't want to get our insulation caught under our screw head, so I'm going to just look. Yeah, that got a little bit too close, so I'm going to loosen this up a bit here. And I'll just pull it back some. And I'll hold it like this. And I'll retighten it. There we go. Now I see our insulation's not pinched under our screw head here. So we can get this cover on here. So we'll put our first one on here like this. And I'll use this screw here too, so we'll have a 632 cut in our wire strippers here, so I'll turn it in like this. I'll even get a little extra support here. It'll make it easier to put the screw in too when you use your side cutters. Now we'll hook our second outlet up. We'll put our ground wire around our green screw. Make sure it's tight like that, and our copper is under the screw head all the way around. Put our white on the silver screw. Okay, I'm going to strip this a little longer because it's slightly short and I don't want to pinch our wire under the is our loop, the direction our screw turns. Make sure it's nice and tight like that. So the band is going to have some more outlets to plug in their stuff, like the sign that shows the band that's playing, and some extra lights to light the stage up. And it's in the place I'm going to be using this is it's in a restaurant that has a bar, but it's not just a bar, it's a family restaurant. Get our wire around the screw the direction our screw turns. Now I pull back to make sure my insulation copper is under the screw head all the way around here. Nice and tight like that there. And we'll cut another screw to put the screw into hold our outlet together. Let's make it easier to put the additional screws in that hold it. This saves the threads to make it easy to put it in where you're putting it. Okay, so we'll put one right in here. Okay, now this cover comes with a set of screws. You can put a nut and a screw on each, and it gives it more support. A lot of them don't have the nut. Some of them are just, a lot of the covers are just supported with the center screw, and I like to get the ones that have this extra screw to give it some extra support. I just have to keep that nut from turning as I'm tightening the screws so that it goes down all the way. Oh, they gave you a couple extra screws. That's nice. Keep them in case I lose a cover screw somewhere. tightened. Down tightened. Down tightened. Okay, so now we can fold our wires down into our box here. I'll let you see what it looks like all finished up. So we'll fold our whites and our blacks to go down into our box here like this. And we'll keep our ground wires down here. So I'm keeping them up at this end here so they stay away from our live terminals. Make sure our screws aren't going to hit the wires, and they're not, so we'll put them in here. Make sure it's nice and tight. And if you look closely, right here, you'll see it's made here in the country I was born in. That's a nice thing to see. I'll show you two different ways to make sure your outlet is hooked up correctly. We'll plug this in. We see our two orange lights are lit. That's what we want. And we'll use our no contact tester. And we'll just make sure that it's blinking on the narrow slot. But this one checks all three wires to make sure it's hooked up properly. The blue no contact tester just tells me that the live is on the right side of the outlet.